this is Ivan and you're with UFO Disclosure Boot Area. Today I'm in California and I'm talking with one of my best friends, Kat. She is a counselor.
I am a minister with She, Spiritual Healers and Earth Stewards, and I'm a member of Prepare for Change and a council member. I help run meetings. I help with the volunteer coordinators, which is the groups that get together to decide what we're going to talk about from week to week.
Yeah, and I have interest about this group, Prepare for Change, and probably you're the person who can tell more about that. Why we have to prepare for change and why? For what?
Okay.
What can change?
Well, first off, the group was started in 2013. Now that's right after they did the founding fathers were in Egypt because of December 21st, 2012, when the Mayan calendar was to end. And of course, nothing happened that people saw. So we started thinking, well, maybe it's later. You need to get prepared for some huge event that's going to come, that's going to change the world. A transformation in consciousness and elevation. And some say, oh, it's going to come with a flash. Well, nothing has happened as they thought it would. No instantaneous flash of light. So now I told them we should be called Be the Change and start living the way we want the world to be instead of waiting for a change. So when we get together, we talk about different things from what's going on in current events to how to heal, to exposing criminal actions. It's a lot of topics, and some of it's history and some of it's more recent.
Do you feel that this change is happening?
I think it's been happening. I look at history and what's written on the stones in the pyramids. All of this is stating all around the world, Machu Picchu, Göbekli Tepe. All of these ancient structures tell a tale, but probably none more than the Egyptian pyramids and the temples over there. And it's actually the Bible story written on the walls. So it's possible that the Bible is a bit of a misinterpretation. So what's reflected in the stars, and today, oddly enough, is the actual Lionsgate portal when Leo aligns with the sun in Regulus, and Regulus means little king. So in my mind, we are all made in God's image, per the Bible, and God is love. So right now, Leo represents love. So there's one more star, Alkaid, which is also the biggest one at the end of the Big Dipper. All of these are lining up. Alkaid means the gate, so Lion's Gate. All of these happening now means to me that humanity's coming back to love, one love for each other. We're evolving, I hope. But you can only do it one person at a time. You can't make the world just flip a switch.
What exactly make people to change? How exactly happening that changes?
Well, I think a lot of that's through compassion with some of the terrible things that we've seen. We saw 9/11. That was a big one for people. I remember being very upset about the whole thing, and then I saw Building 7 fall, and it's like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. So you start connecting the dots. Then we had the whole pandemic. I mean, so many things have happened that didn't make sense. So people are waking up to something's a little bit different, but the only way to fix it is them stepping up into their own sovereignty again, instead of waiting for somebody else to come in and be a hero and tell them what to do with their lives.
So when this change is happening and happen, how the humans, how that affecting the humans? They start discovering some hidden abilities like telepathy, like communications with paranormal activities, with UFOs, extraterrestrials.
Yeah, that's all happening. Now, part of that's tied to the solar cycles. Every time it rises and falls, it peaks and it drops. Civilizations break down. These come in cycles. The great year is about 26,000 years. So half of that circle is spent at the very top when we were the gods. Then you descend, you become more material, you get into metals, you start doing computers and all this other stuff, away from spirit. The second half is climbing back to the top to start over, and I think we're right there, right on the edge right now.
Some scientists talking about upgrading the DNA, and maybe because we're in the era, in the spatial era in the Earth, when we have some kind of influence from the stars,
Yes,
space.
exactly.
And I personally saw kids with, I mean, they're extremely smart. And maybe, I mean, also when I talked with Leonie from Australia, she said that these generations who is coming now in the planet Earth, they will be the ruler. They are going to rule the world.
The little kings and queens, yes. Well, it's been amazing. Now, she works with children a lot. I did, back in the 80s and 90s, as working with the Sheriff's Department, one of the groups that went through there was the Boy Scouts. So we had all these kids between 14 and 21 that we were teaching first aid, CPR, how to go look for people, rescue people, that kind of stuff. The consciousness today is a lot different from even those few years ago, 20 years ago. It's a big difference. Right now, I'm seeing kids, like Leona says, they're more switched on. They're more responsive and reacting to their parents. Like they seem to understand right away what's being said. And I'm seeing them trying to talk and mimic. It's been amazing to see how switched on these kids are. I would love to be able to talk to a young one that's just learning verbal skills and say, hey, do you remember where you were before you were in your mommy's tummy? Just to see how many remember previous lives. Because I'll bet you'd get some pretty good stories if they asked.
Do you have personal experience with that changes? I mean,
changes in consciousness or changes
with the consciousness
to me personally or just
what kind of ability can you see some ability in yourself with all these changes?
All right, so we had this thing in 2012. In 2013 I was having heart problems, chest pains and trouble breathing, and I went in and they said, oh, you've got a 60% blockage, oh, you need a procedure, and I didn't want to do it. And I was reading The Secret is the Prayer, or it's Greg Braden talking about how to get that ancient language from the Bible of how to heal. I thought, what have I got to lose? I'll give it a try. And I went into meditation and with my eyes closed and thanking the Lord for my life. And also making a deal like, hey, if you got something you want to do, heal me because I don't want to have surgery. And I felt something in the room, an energy and a presence. It's that loving presence that's hard to put a word to because it's more than what you would feel with a girlfriend or your family. It's so much deeper. It's unconditional. And I felt hands on my shoulders. And then after a few minutes, that lifted straight up. And I think the pain went with it. I can't remember now, but it's like, okay, that was interesting. So I go into the doctor the next week for the procedure, and he runs like a camera up into your heart, and he's looking for disease. He's looking for the blockage so they could open up a balloon and squish it to the side. He turned around and looked at me and said, why are you here? There's nothing wrong. And I started laughing because it's like I remembered what I had done a few days before. Spontaneous healing. And because of that, I've been trying to teach others how to do it, how to get into the right mindset, what to feel, and what to visualize. So that was the first major incident that something, yes, indeed happened.
Yeah. Anything else?
Okay, well, there are so many things that happen, it's hard to remember. The big ones you'll remember. So I do regular meditation in my backyard. In 2017, I know it was May, I don't know exactly what date, I was in meditation and I was thinking, God, this is such a beautiful world. There is so much diversity in plant life and animal life and all the different people. It's beautiful. I said, we need to preserve the planet. It would be nice to have had other beings come from other planets to visit, so we should preserve it. And all of a sudden, I get nudged to open my eyes, and I looked up, and over the top of the house is this big flash. And then a second later, over my house, this teardrop shape, something that looked like it was as big as the Goodyear blimp, but I could only see the bottom. It lights up and then shoots off as if it had never stopped. And I thought, wow, that's an interesting side effect from meditation. And I walked in and I told my husband about it, and of course he rolls his eyes, yeah, sure, you saw a spaceship.
Are we in trouble? No.
About 40 days later, it happened again, almost identical. It's like, okay, you did 15 years with the sheriff's department, you drove ambulance for almost 4 years, you know how to see and report. You're a trained observer. Get over it. You saw what you saw. But then I didn't know who to tell.
Yes.
Who do you tell when you have experiences like that?
Do you think people now, the humans, is more open these days?
Thank God. Yeah, was it 2019 when they finally came out and said, oh yeah, UFOs are real? It's like, what took them so long to actually come out and say it, though we've heard stories about it from as early back as the 50s. If you look at writings on the cliffs in Utah, just all over the planet, it shows these really strange looking beings that are not from Earth. Even in Egypt, they have one wall that somebody had attempted to cover it and that piece fell off. It shows what looks like a hovercraft, a tank, a helicopter, all these things that would be from the future. So how would they know about that?
Yeah.
So time travel is probably something that's true too. So what do you think about all that?
I mean, there's a lot of topics we can discuss because there's a lot of interesting topics for the audience, especially in Bulgaria. For them, for Bulgarians, all the stuff we're talking right now, it's completely new, and many of them probably they're just wondering right now if we just kidding each other or maybe we're talking about something serious.
Very
and
serious.
I'm telling you, all this is serious.
Well, here's my thought. Because those pyramids, as old as they are, and they try to say that we've only been around for 5,000 or 6,000 years, and that doesn't make sense, especially in light of all the other structures they're finding and dating. So what if Earth had reached a very high point in civilization, and then something happened, either a natural cataclysm, or maybe mankind got crazy with weapons and maybe they destroyed it. So then we had this flood that wiped everything out and we had to start over. With so few people, wouldn't the memories be pretty much lost as well? So people have this amnesia of where they came from and they had to start over. And from what I understand, this would be the 5th or 6th generation of man. So maybe this time we'll get it right and we'll actually evolve into something better, something new. Human 2.0? 3.0? I don't know.
Yeah, very interesting. Do you think that humans is ready to meet with the extraterrestrials, or some people say our star friends?
Well, for me personally and most of the people that I deal with, yes, we're actually excited about it. Costa of ET Let's Talk is a good friend, and we've been like, we'll put our thumbs out. We go out every month and look to the stars and we meditate and we try to send a light up and say, here we are, come on down in peace. Because we could sure use some mentors right now, somebody to show us the way. Somebody who's already been through what humanity's going through, where you're right on the brink of destruction, and then you either fall over the edge or you take that leap of faith and you try to do something new and better. I think that's where we are right now. And if they came, hopefully it's to be a mentor, to offer guidance, but not to try to take over the world. I know there are some people that saying, well, if you reach out, you don't know. Maybe they'll be like the colonists that came to America, wiped out the Indians and took the land, or the British, they go to Africa and they take over Australia. they don't want them to be like that. But I think there is some real credence to that Star Trek deal, the non-interference. I think there's something true about that they can't help unless asked.
Doing meditation or following some protocols for contact with ET.
The CE5 protocols, yeah.
I heard many people talking for different kind of protocols, and maybe this is about the condition of your consciousness at that moment, and opening your mind, to be with open mind, to just have desire to make this contact.
Absolutely.
Have you done this?
Yes, and I think the biggest difference, because a lot of people say, oh, I'm afraid, I don't know if I'll be abducted. Well, I think whatever kind of information you're putting out to the universe, if you're putting out love and an open invitation and to work in cooperation, not competition, that's what your experience is going to be. But if you're saying, I'm afraid, then maybe the mirror from the universe is going to give you a fearful experience, an abduction experience. So I think it's really important that if you want to do this, you have to set that aside, that part of you that's still fear-based, the id inside, the primitive mind, and start elevating your consciousness to something higher.
Yeah.
So if you're in a higher frequency with your thoughts, then I would assume anybody that can travel across the stars is very similar. They've only showed up over my house when I'm in those deep states and expressing love. Just like with the healing, same thing.
Yeah. What you can say to the audience? Well, everybody who would like to make that change for better, to become more sensitive, what you can say to the audience in this point?
Well, if it's about meditation, a lot of people say, I don't know how to meditate. And some people will tell you, oh, you have to quiet your mind. You have to think of nothing. Well, that's pretty hard to do. What I like to do is picture something from my past that was really special to me. It could be riding my horses. I loved riding on the trails, or seeing a beautiful sunset on the ocean, something I hope you saw yesterday. Being with somebody very special, a child, a parent, a lover.
Yeah.
If you think about that, you can create that wonderful feeling of love, unconditional love, to the point where you feel it in your body, your chest starts to get a little warm. So when you're there, you're ready. It's just, you do it often enough, it becomes natural. You don't have to drum up some memory to make it happen. But the practice will make it easier. And also, just using the words thank you as a mantra. Thank you for everything in your life, for every experience, because even the bad ones have a lesson for you. So don't look at it as fear. Now, if you don't believe in reincarnation, maybe that's a little harder. I don't believe in a true death, so I'm not afraid, because I know I'll come right back, if that's what I want to do. So if you can set that aside and just know and trust that the universe is offering information to you through these experiences, and even the bad ones, what's the lesson for you to learn? So then you go, oh, okay, I get it. And if I can get over making mistakes and moving on to doing something positive, then those things won't happen again in my life, because I'll have learned the lesson.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Kat, for your time to be together with you for Disclosure Bulgaria. We're friends forever, and stay in touch.